In a world where royal marriages often crumble under the weight of tradition and public scrutiny, one couple has defied the odds. When cameras captured a single, unguarded moment between the Prince and Princess of Wales at Wimbledon's men's singles final, millions witnessed something extraordinary, a glimpse into a love story that has survived scandals, separation rumors, and the relentless glare of global attention. This wasn't just another royal appearance. This was proof that even in the most watched family on earth, genuine romance can flourish. What happened in those precious seconds would remind the world why their fairy tale began over 2 decades ago, and why it continues to inspire hope in an age of broken promises and fleeting relationships. The summer sun cast long shadows across the manicured lawns of the All England Lawn Tennis, and Croquet Club as the most prestigious tennis tournament in the world reached its climax. Wimbledon 2024 had been a tournament filled with surprises, upsets, and moments of pure sporting brilliance. But nothing could have prepared the crowd, the television audience of millions, or even the royal couple themselves for what was about to unfold in the royal box. Catherine, the Princess of Wales, sat with the poise and elegance that had made her one of the most photographed women in the world. Her navy blue dress, carefully selected by her styling team, complemented the traditional Wimbledon colors while maintaining the perfect balance between formal royal protocol and approachable modern femininity. Beside her, Prince William wore a classic navy suit, his tie perfectly knotted, every inch the future king he was destined to become. To the outside world, they appeared as they always did during public appearances, composed, dignified, and utterly professional in their royal duties. The cameras that followed their every move captured the usual shots, William and Catherine applauding politely, exchanging brief words about the match, maintaining the careful distance that royal protocol demanded. But those who knew them well, the few insiders who had watched their relationship evolve over more than 20 years, could sense something different about this particular afternoon. The tournament had been building to this moment for 2 weeks. Carlos Alcaraz and Novak Djokovic had battled their way through the draws with the kind of tennis that reminded everyone why Wimbledon remained the most coveted prize in the sport. The crowd of 15,000 people packed into center court represented a cross-section of British society, from celebrities and politicians to tennis enthusiasts who had waited years for the chance to witness a final of this caliber. For William and Catherine, Wimbledon held special significance beyond their roles as patrons of various tennis organizations. It was here, in this very venue, that they had shared some of their most relaxed public moments together. The informal atmosphere of the tournament, despite its grandeur, allowed them rare glimpses of normalcy in their otherwise heavily scrutinized lives. Catherine's genuine love for tennis had been evident since her early appearances at the tournament, and William's competitive spirit, honed through years of polo and other sports, made him an engaged spectator. As the afternoon wore on, the match between Alcaraz and Djokovic intensified. Each point was contested with the kind of fierce determination that only comes at the highest levels of professional sport. The crowd's energy was electric, rising and falling with every serve, every volley, every impossible return that somehow found its way back across the net. In the royal box, protocol began to give way to genuine excitement. Catherine found herself leaning forward during particularly intense rallies, her hands unconsciously clasping together as she watched the drama unfold below. Her usual measured responses were replaced by genuine gasps of amazement at some of the shots being played. William, too, was drawn into the spectacle, his own competitive nature responding to the battle of wills taking place on the grass court that had seen so many legendary encounters. The photographers present, veterans of royal coverage who had learned to capture the moments between the moments, began to notice subtle changes in the couple's body language. Where protocol usually demanded a careful distance, they were sitting closer together, their shoulders occasionally touching as they leaned in to share observations about the match. These were the kinds of details that royal watchers lived for, the tiny glimpses behind the carefully maintained public facade. But It wasn't just their physical proximity that was changing. Those close enough to observe could see the way Catherine's eyes lit up when she turned to share her excitement with William, or how his formal posture relaxed when he laughed at one of her whispered comments. 20 years of marriage had taught them to communicate in ways that transcended words. And this afternoon, surrounded by the pageantry of Wimbledon and caught up in the drama of world-class tennis, those private channels of communication were more evident than usual. The first set went to Alcaraz in a dramatic tiebreak that had the entire crowd on their feet. In the royal box, the usual decorum was momentarily forgotten as Catherine actually applauded with genuine enthusiasm rather than the polite clapping that royal appearances typically demanded. When she realized what she had done, she turned to William with a slightly embarrassed smile, and, for a moment, they were not the future king and queen, but simply a couple sharing a spontaneous moment of joy. William's response was telling. Instead of the gentle correction that protocol might have demanded, he smiled back with obvious affection and leaned slightly closer to whisper something that made Catherine laugh out loud. It was a sound that those who heard it would later describe as completely unguarded, the kind of laughter that comes from genuine amusement rather than polite social interaction. The photographer's cameras captured the exchange, but more importantly, they captured what happened next. As Catherine's laughter faded, she and William found themselves looking at each other with an intensity that had nothing to do with tennis and everything to do with the connection that had sustained them through decades of public scrutiny, personal challenges, and the unique pressures of royal life. The second set continued the pattern of exceptional tennis, with Djokovic fighting back to level the match. But in the royal box, a different kind of drama was unfolding. Those watching noticed that William and Catherine had moved even closer together, their usual careful positioning forgotten in their shared excitement about the match. When particularly spectacular points were played, they turned to each other first, their reactions automatic and unguarded. During one extraordinary rally that lasted 37 shots, and had the crowd gasping with each exchange, Catherine instinctively reached for William's hand. It was a gesture so natural that neither of them seemed to realize they had done it until the point ended, and they found themselves connected in a way that their public appearances rarely allowed. For a moment, they simply sat there, hands intertwined, watching as the crowd erupted around them. The implications of this simple gesture were enormous. Royal protocol typically discouraged such displays of affection during public appearances. The careful choreography of royal events was designed to maintain dignity and formality at all times. But here, caught up in the genuine drama of world-class sport and surrounded by the unique atmosphere of Wimbledon, protocol was giving way to something more authentic. What made the moment even more significant was their reaction when they realized what had happened. Instead of quickly separating and returning to formal positions, they shared a look of amused acknowledgement. William actually squeezed Catherine's hand gently before releasing it, and the smile she gave him in return was radiant with affection and shared understanding. The third set proved to be the longest, with both players pushing themselves to extraordinary limits. Games went to deuce repeatedly, with neither man able to gain a decisive advantage. In the royal box, the extended drama allowed William and Catherine more opportunities for the kind of natural interaction that their busy schedules and public duties rarely permitted. They began pointing out particular shots to each other, their heads coming closer together as they shared observations about the players' strategies and abilities. Catherine's knowledge of the game impressed those around them, as she discussed technical aspects of the players' techniques with the kind of insight that comes from genuine understanding rather than briefing papers. William's responses showed equal engagement, and their conversation flowed with the easy rhythm of two people who truly enjoyed each other's company. As the set progressed toward another tiebreak, the tension in center court became almost unbearable. Even the royal box, usually an oasis of calm formality, felt the electric atmosphere. Catherine found herself gripping the arms of her chair during particularly crucial points, while William leaned forward with obvious intensity. when Alcaraz finally took the set with a spectacular cross-court winner. Both of them jumped to their feet with the rest of the crowd, their usual measured responses completely forgotten. It was in that moment of shared excitement, as they stood applauding with genuine enthusiasm, that something shifted between them. Perhaps it was the adrenaline of the moment, or the rare opportunity to simply enjoy themselves without the usual constraints of formal royal duties. Whatever the cause, when they sat back down, they were sitting noticeably closer than before, and the carefully maintained space that protocol usually demanded had disappeared entirely. The fourth set began with both players showing signs of fatigue, but their determination remained absolute. In the royal box, William and Catherine settled in to watch what everyone hoped would be a fitting conclusion to an extraordinary match. Neither of them could have predicted that what was about to happen would overshadow even the tennis in terms of public interest and media coverage. As they prepared to watch the final set of what was shaping up to be one of the greatest Wimbledon finals in recent memory, William and Catherine had no idea that they were about to provide the world with something even more captivating than world-class tennis. A glimpse into a love story that had captured hearts across the globe and continued to inspire hope in an age of celebrity relationships and royal scandals. The stage was set not just for a tennis conclusion, but for a moment that would remind the world why their relationship had survived everything that had been thrown at it, and why, after more than 2 decades together, they could still surprise each other and everyone watching with the depth of their connection. The fourth set began with an intensity that seemed to affect everyone in center court, including the royal couple who had gradually abandoned their usual formal positioning. Catherine had unconsciously moved closer to William during the previous set's excitement, and now they sat with barely inches between them, sharing the kind of physical proximity that their public appearances rarely allowed. Djokovic, drawing on his vast experience and incredible mental strength, began the set with renewed determination. His serve, which had been broken twice in the previous set, suddenly found new life. The Serbian champion was demonstrating exactly why he had won 24 Grand Slam titles, his shot-making becoming more aggressive and precise with each game. The crowd, which had been fairly evenly split in their support, began to appreciate they were witnessing something extraordinary from one of tennis's greatest champions. In the royal box, Catherine leaned forward slightly as she watched Djokovic's tactical adjustment. Her understanding of the game's nuances had developed significantly over her years of attending tennis tournaments, and she could see the subtle changes in his positioning and shot selection that suggested he was raising his level at precisely the right moment. When she turned to share this observation with William, she found him already looking at her, having noticed the same tactical shift. Their eyes met with the kind of understanding that comes from years of shared experiences and genuine intellectual connection. William had always been attracted to Catherine's intelligence and her ability to engage with subjects beyond the superficial level that their public duties often demanded. Here, watching world-class tennis and seeing her genuine appreciation for the strategic elements of the game, he was reminded once again of the woman he had fallen in love with at university. Catherine's analysis proved prescient as Djokovic held his service games with increasing confidence, while Alcaraz began to show the first signs of the physical and mental fatigue that comes from playing at maximum intensity for nearly 3 hours. The crowd sensed the momentum shift, and the atmosphere in center court became even more charged with anticipation. During one particularly long game, as Alcaraz battled to hold serve against increasingly aggressive returns from Djokovic, William found himself unconsciously moving closer to Catherine. The natural urge to share the excitement and tension of the moment overcame the ingrained habits of royal protocol. When Catherine felt his presence beside her, she didn't move away. Instead, she seemed to relax into the shared experience, allowing herself to enjoy not just the tennis, but the rare opportunity to simply be close to her husband without the usual considerations of camera's angles and public perception. The game went to deuce 5 times, with each point contested with ferocious intensity. Both players were producing shots that had the crowd gasping in amazement, and even a usually reserved royal box erupted in spontaneous applause after particularly spectacular rallies. During one exchange that lasted over 30 shots, Catherine found herself gripping William's arm without realizing she had done so, caught up in the drama unfolding below. When the game finally ended with an Alcaraz winner that barely caught the baseline, the collective release of tension was palpable throughout center court. Catherine realized she was still holding William's arm and looked up to find him smiling down at her with obvious affection. The moment could have been awkward, a breach of the careful distance that royal appearances typically maintained. Instead, William covered her hand with his own, acknowledging the naturalness of her reaction and sharing in her excitement about the match. This simple gesture sent ripples through the photographers and royal correspondents present. Hand-holding during public appearances was rare for William and Catherine, typically reserved for specific ceremonial moments or when walking together. To see such natural, unguarded affection during what was essentially a sporting event was unprecedented in recent memory. But more significant than the gesture itself was the way they handled it. Instead of quickly separating and returning to formal positions, they remained connected for several more points, their hands resting naturally together as they continued to watch the match. It was a display of genuine comfort with each other that transcended their roles as representatives of the crown. The photographers present, veterans who had covered the royal family for decades, immediately recognized the significance of what they were witnessing. These were not staged moments designed for public consumption, but genuine expressions of affection between two people who, despite more than 20 years in the public eye, could still surprise observers with the authenticity of their connection. Djokovic continued to build momentum, his experience telling as the match entered its crucial phase. He broke Alcaraz's serve in the 7th game of the set, a breakthrough that had center court buzzing with excitement. The crowd's energy was infectious, and even the royal box, usually an island of decorum amid the surrounding enthusiasm, was visibly affected by the drama unfolding below. Catherine turned to William as Djokovic celebrated the break, her eyes bright with excitement about the match's development. When she spoke, those close enough could see that she wasn't making polite conversation about the weather or commenting on the crowd, but offering genuine insight about what Djokovic's tactical changes meant for the remainder of the match. William's response was equally engaged, and their conversation flowed with the easy rhythm of two people who genuinely enjoyed intellectual exchange. As they talked, something magical began to happen. The formal distance that characterized their public appearances melted away entirely. They were no longer the future king and Queen of England fulfilling their royal duties, but simply William and Catherine, a married couple enjoying an afternoon of world-class sport together. The transformation was subtle, but unmistakable to those who knew how to look for it. Their body language told the story more clearly than any words could have. William had turned slightly in his chair to face Catherine as they talked, his full attention focused on what she was saying rather than maintaining the forward-facing posture that protocol typically demanded. Catherine, for her part, seemed to glow under his undivided attention, her natural charisma and intelligence freed from the usual constraints of formal royal interaction. When Djokovic served out the set to level the match at 2 sets apiece, the crowd erupted in appreciation for what they had witnessed. Both players had elevated their games to extraordinary levels, producing tennis that reminded everyone why Wimbledon remained the sport's most prestigious tournament. In the royal box, William and Catherine joined the standing ovation with genuine enthusiasm, their applause reflecting authentic appreciation rather than polite acknowledgement. As they stood together, applauding the exceptional tennis they had just witnessed, something passed between them. Perhaps it was the shared excitement of watching greatness unfold, or the rare opportunity to experience it together without the usual distractions of royal duties and public obligations. Whatever the catalyst, when they sat back down to prepare for the deciding set, they were sitting closer than they had been all afternoon. The break between sets provided a natural pause in the action, allowing conversations to resume throughout center court. In the royal box, William and Catherine used the time to share their thoughts about what they had witnessed, their discussion ranging from technical aspects of both players' games to appreciation for the crowd's enthusiasm and the unique atmosphere of Wimbledon. Those observing from nearby noticed how animated Catherine became when discussing subjects she was genuinely passionate about. Her knowledge of tennis had grown considerably over the years, and her insights were informed by genuine understanding rather than prepared talking points. William's responses showed equal engagement, and their conversation had the natural flow of two people who truly enjoyed each other's company. As they talked, Catherine gestured expressively, her usual composed public demeanor giving way to more natural and animated communication. When she made a particularly astute observation about Djokovic's mental approach to crucial points, William laughed with genuine appreciation, and the sound was warm and unguarded in a way that their public appearances rarely captured. The laughter seemed to surprise them both, as if they had forgotten for a moment that they were being observed by thousands of people and countless cameras. When they realized how natural their interaction had become, instead of immediately returning to formal positions, they shared a look of amused acknowledgement. It was a moment of perfect understanding between two people who had learned to navigate the unique challenges of their position while somehow maintaining the connection that had brought them together in the first place. As the players prepared to return to court for the deciding set, Catherine made a comment that caused William to lean closer to hear her better. The movement brought them into even closer proximity, and when their conversation ended, neither made any effort to return to their original positions. They remained close together, their shoulders occasionally touching, as they prepared to watch what everyone hoped would be a fitting conclusion to an extraordinary match. The photographers present had been documenting royal appearances for years, but they sensed they were witnessing something different. The usual careful choreography of royal events had given way to something more spontaneous and genuine. Every captured moment seemed to reveal new layers of affection and connection between the couple, reminding observers why their relationship had captured global attention and continued to inspire admiration more than 2 decades after they first met. As the decisive fifth set was about to begin, William and Catherine sat together with an intimacy and naturalness that their public duties rarely allowed. They had no way of knowing that what was about to happen would provide the world with an even more powerful reminder of why their love story continued to captivate hearts and inspire hope across the globe. The fifth and deciding set began with an atmosphere so charged that even a usually composed royal box seemed to vibrate with anticipation. Both Alcaraz and Djokovic understood that everything they had worked for throughout their careers could come down to the next hour of tennis. The weight of history hung over center court as two of the greatest players of all time prepared to battle for the most coveted prize in tennis. Catherine felt the electricity in the air and found herself more invested in the outcome than she had expected. Her genuine love for tennis had grown over the years from polite interest to authentic appreciation for the sport's technical and mental demands. As she watched both players complete their warm-up routines, she could see the intense concentration in their eyes and the way they carried themselves with the confidence of champions who had been in this position before. William, too, was drawn into the drama unfolding below. His competitive spirit, honed through years of playing polo and other sports at the highest amateur level, responded to the battle of wills taking place on the grass court. He understood the mental pressure both players were facing, having experienced similar moments in his own sporting endeavors, though admittedly on a much smaller scale. As Alcaraz prepared to serve the first game of the deciding set, Catherine unconsciously moved closer to William, their previous careful positioning completely forgotten in the excitement of the moment. When William felt her presence beside him, he responded naturally, allowing his own posture to relax as they settled in together to watch history unfold. The Spanish champion started the set with renewed determination, his serve finding new life after showing signs of fatigue in the fourth set. His first ace of the game drew appreciative murmurs from the crowd, and Catherine found herself nodding in approval at the tactical intelligence behind the shot placement. When she turned to share this observation with William, she discovered he had been watching her reaction rather than the serve itself. Their eyes met for a moment that seemed to stretch beyond the confines of center court and the thousands of people surrounding them. In that instant, they were not representatives of the crown or public figures fulfilling official duties, but simply two people sharing a moment of genuine connection. William's expression was soft with affection, while Catherine's face lit up with the kind of smile that had first captured his attention all those years ago at university. The moment might have lasted longer, but Djokovic's return of serve brought their attention back to the court, where another extraordinary rally was developing. Both players were reaching shots that seemed impossible, stretching the boundaries of what human reflexes and court coverage could achieve. The crowd was on its feet within minutes of the set beginning, sensing they were witnessing something extraordinary. Catherine found herself completely caught up in the drama, her usual composed public demeanor giving way to genuine excitement. When Alcaraz hit a passing shot that barely caught the sideline, she actually gasped audibly, her hand moving instinctively to her chest in surprise. The reaction was so natural and unguarded that William couldn't help but smile at her genuine enthusiasm. His smile didn't go unnoticed by Catherine, who turned to find him watching her with obvious affection. Instead of feeling self-conscious about her reaction, she seemed to relax even further into the moment. Her return smile was radiant, completely free from the careful control that public appearances typically demanded. For a few seconds, they simply looked at each other with expressions of pure joy and connection. The game continued around them, but something had shifted in their dynamic. The formal distance that characterized their public interactions had dissolved entirely, replaced by the kind of natural intimacy that comes from years of shared experiences and genuine partnership. They were no longer performing their roles as working royals, but simply being themselves with each other. As the set progressed, their natural reactions to the exceptional tennis being played below became increasingly unguarded. When Djokovic saved 3 breakpoints with consecutive winners, William actually said "incredible" out loud, his voice carrying genuine amazement at what he had just witnessed. Catherine's agreement was equally enthusiastic, and their brief exchange about the Serbian champion's mental strength had the easy flow of two people who genuinely enjoyed each other's intellectual company. During a particularly long rally in the third game, Catherine found herself unconsciously reaching for William's hand as the tension built with each shot. This time, when their fingers intertwined, neither of them seemed surprised or concerned about the breach of protocol. The gesture felt completely natural, an expression of shared excitement and connection that transcended their usual careful public positioning. The photographers present immediately recognized the significance of what they were witnessing, but they were too professional to allow their excitement to interfere with their work. These were the moments that royal correspondents dreamed of capturing. Genuine, unguarded displays of affection between two of the most photographed people in the world. The images they were taking would become iconic, but more importantly, they were documenting something authentic and beautiful. William's thumb traced gentle circles on Catherine's hand as they watched, a small gesture that spoke volumes about the comfort and intimacy they shared even in such a public setting. When Catherine glanced down at their joined hands and then back up at William, her expression was soft with affection and gratitude for the rare opportunity to simply be close to him without the usual considerations of protocol and public perception. The fourth game saw Djokovic finally achieve the break of serve that had eluded him since the beginning of the set. His celebration was restrained but powerful, acknowledging both the crowd's appreciation and the significance of the moment. In the royal box, the breakthrough prompted Catherine to squeeze William's hand unconsciously, sharing the excitement of witnessing such high-level sport at its most crucial moments. Their shared enthusiasm for what they were watching had completely overcome any remaining vestiges of formal royal protocol. When the crowd erupted in appreciation for a particularly spectacular shot, William and Catherine joined in with genuine applause, their reactions authentic rather than the polite acknowledgement that public appearances typically required. They were experiencing the pure joy of being sports fans together, something their busy schedules and public duties rarely allowed. As Djokovic consolidated his break by holding serve with increasing confidence, Catherine turned to William with obvious excitement about the match's development. Her analysis of what the break meant for the remainder of the set showed her deep understanding of tennis psychology, and William's response demonstrated equal engagement with her insights. Their conversation flowed naturally, two intelligent people sharing thoughts about something they were both genuinely passionate about watching. The easy intellectual exchange seemed to deepen their connection even further. Catherine became more animated as she explained her thoughts about each player's tactical approach, her natural charisma, and intelligence freed from the usual constraints of formal royal interaction. William listened with obvious appreciation, occasionally offering his own observations that showed he was equally engaged with the strategic elements of what they were watching. Their discussion was interrupted by an extraordinary point that had the entire crowd gasping in amazement. Both players had produced shots that seemed to defy physics, and the rally continued for what felt like minutes as each man refused to concede defeat. When Alcaraz finally ended it with a cross-court winner that barely caught the corner, the explosion of applause was deafening. In the royal box, Catherine and William were on their feet with everyone else, their applause reflecting genuine appreciation for the exceptional tennis they had just witnessed. But as they stood together, something more significant happened. Catherine, caught up in the excitement and emotion of the moment, turned toward William with an expression of pure joy, and he responded by wrapping his arm around her shoulders in a gesture of shared celebration. The embrace lasted only a few seconds, but its impact was immeasurable. Here was the future King and Queen of England, displaying the kind of natural, unguarded affection that their public roles rarely permitted. The gesture was spontaneous and authentic, born from genuine shared excitement rather than calculated for public consumption. When they separated and sat back down, both seemed slightly surprised by their own spontaneity, but neither appeared concerned about the breach of protocol. Instead, they shared a look of amused acknowledgement, as if recognizing that something special was happening between them that transcended their usual public performance. The smile Catherine gave William was luminous with affection and joy, while his expression reflected both love and appreciation for her natural warmth and enthusiasm. As the set continued toward its climax, they remained closer together than they had been all afternoon, their usual careful positioning completely forgotten. The formal distance that characterized their public appearances had been replaced by genuine intimacy, creating an atmosphere around them that was both romantic and authentic. They were no longer just fulfilling their duties as working royals, but sharing a moment of pure connection that reminded everyone watching why their relationship had captured hearts around the world. The photographers documenting the afternoon understood they were witnessing something unprecedented in recent royal coverage. Every captured moment revealed new depths of affection and connection between William and Catherine, providing the world with a window into a relationship that had somehow maintained its authenticity despite decades of public scrutiny. As the set approached its conclusion, everyone present sensed that something truly magical was unfolding in the royal box, something that would be remembered long after the tennis match had ended. The tension in center court reached almost unbearable levels as Djokovic served for the championship at 5-4 in the fifth set. Every person among the 15,000 in attendance understood they were witnessing something extraordinary, not just in terms of tennis excellence, but in the raw human drama unfolding before them. In the royal box, William and Catherine sat closer than they had during any public appearance in recent memory, their formal protocol completely abandoned in favor of authentic shared experience. Catherine's heart was racing, Though whether from the excitement of the tennis or the unexpected intimacy she was sharing with William, she couldn't be sure. The afternoon had evolved into something she hadn't anticipated when they arrived for what she assumed would be another formal royal engagement. Instead, she found herself experiencing the kind of genuine connection with her husband that their demanding schedules and public duties rarely permitted. William was equally affected by the charged atmosphere, both on the court and in their private bubble within the very public royal box. The competitive fire that had driven him through years of sporting endeavors was fully engaged as he watched two champions battle for the ultimate prize. But, more significantly, he was acutely aware of Catherine beside him, her natural enthusiasm and intelligence on full display in a way that reminded him powerfully of the woman he had fallen in love with at university. As Djokovic prepared to serve what could be the championship-winning game, Catherine unconsciously leaned closer to William, seeking the comfort of his presence during the almost unbearable tension. When she realized what she had done, instead of quickly adjusting her position to maintain proper royal distance, she remained where she was. William's response was to shift slightly himself, ensuring she was comfortable while maintaining their newfound closeness. The Serbian champion's first serve was an ace down the center that had the crowd erupting in appreciation. Catherine actually jumped slightly in her seat at the power and precision of the shot, her reaction so natural and unguarded that William couldn't help but smile at her genuine enthusiasm. When she noticed his amusement, instead of feeling self-conscious, she returned his smile with obvious affection, creating a moment of perfect understanding between them. Djokovic's second serve brought an immediate aggressive return from Alcaraz, initiating a rally that would later be described as one of the greatest points in Wimbledon history. Both players produced shots that seemed to defy the laws of physics, stretching court coverage to its absolute limits while maintaining incredible precision and power. The crowd was completely silent except for occasional gasps of amazement as the point continued beyond what anyone thought possible. During this extraordinary rally, something magical happened in the royal box. Catherine found herself gripping William's arm unconsciously as the tension built with each impossible shot. When she realized what she had done, she looked up to find William watching her with an expression of such tenderness that it took her breath away. The tennis continued around them, but for those few seconds, they were completely absorbed in each other. William's free hand moved to cover hers where it rested on his arm, and they shared a moment of connection that transcended the thousands of people surrounding them. The gesture was simple but profound, acknowledging the naturalness of her reaction while expressing his own appreciation for her genuine enthusiasm. When the point finally ended with an Alcaraz winner that brought the crowd to its feet, they remained connected, their hands intertwined as they applauded the exceptional tennis they had just witnessed. The photographers present understood immediately that they were documenting something unprecedented. Royal protocol typically discouraged such displays of physical affection during public appearances, but here was the future king and Queen of England completely absorbed in each other and the moment they were sharing. The images being captured would become iconic, but more importantly, they were authentic expressions of a relationship that had somehow maintained its genuineness despite decades of public scrutiny. The game continued at deuce, with both players refusing to concede an inch in their battle for the championship. Each point was contested with ferocious intensity, and the crowd's energy seemed to affect everyone in center court, including the royal couple who had completely abandoned their usual composed public demeanor in favor of genuine investment in the drama unfolding below. During another extraordinary rally, Catherine actually gasped audibly when Alcaraz produced a passing shot that seemed impossible from his court position. The sound was so natural and unguarded that those nearby were reminded that beneath the composed royal exterior was a woman genuinely passionate about the sport they were watching. William's reaction to her enthusiasm was immediate and warm, his expression reflecting obvious pleasure in seeing her so engaged and excited. When the rally ended with another Djokovic winner, bringing him to match point. The atmosphere in center court became electric with anticipation. Catherine found herself holding her breath, completely caught up in the drama of the moment. William was equally absorbed, his competitive nature responding to the mental battle taking place between two champions who had pushed each other to extraordinary heights. As Djokovic prepared to serve for the championship, Catherine turned to William with an expression of excitement mixed with nervous anticipation. Their faces were closer than they had been all afternoon, and when William spoke, his voice was quiet enough that only she could hear. Whatever he said caused her to laugh softly, the sound reflecting both amusement and affection. The exchange was intimate and natural, completely free from the careful formality that characterized their public interactions. The championship point itself was almost anticlimactic after the drama that had preceded it. Djokovic's serve was returned long by Alcaraz, and, suddenly, the match was over. Center court erupted in applause and celebration, acknowledging both the champion and the extraordinary effort of both players. In the royal box, William and Catherine were on their feet with everyone else, their applause reflecting genuine appreciation for the exceptional tennis they had witnessed. But, as the crowd continued to celebrate around them, something even more significant was happening between the royal couple. Still standing close together, still caught up in the emotion and excitement of what they had shared, Catherine turned toward William with an expression of pure joy and gratitude. The afternoon had given them something precious and unexpected, the opportunity to simply be themselves with each other in a way that their public duties rarely allowed. William's response was immediate and heartfelt. Without considering the cameras or the thousands of people surrounding them, he leaned down and kissed Catherine gently on the forehead, a gesture of such tenderness and authenticity that it seemed to stop time in the royal box. The kiss was brief but profound, acknowledging not just the shared excitement of the tennis they had watched, but the deeper connection they had rediscovered during this unexpected afternoon of genuine intimacy. When William pulled back, Catherine's expression was radiant with happiness and love. For a moment, they simply looked at each other with the kind of connection that had sustained their relationship through more than 2 decades of challenges, changes, and the relentless pressure of public life. The smile she gave him was luminous, completely unguarded, and authentic in its expression of joy and affection. The gesture had been captured by every photographer present, but, more importantly, it had been witnessed by the thousands of people in center court who understood immediately that they had seen something special. This wasn't a calculated moment designed for public consumption, but an authentic expression of love between two people who had somehow managed to maintain the essence of their relationship despite the unique pressures of their position. As they finally separated and began to applaud the champion's victory ceremony, William and Catherine remained closer than they had been at the beginning of the afternoon. The formal distance that typically characterized their public appearances had been replaced by a natural intimacy that seemed to glow around them. They continued to share quiet comments and reactions as the ceremony proceeded, their interaction flowing with the easy rhythm of two people completely comfortable with each other. The presentation ceremony continued below them, but in the royal box, a different kind of celebration was taking place. William and Catherine had rediscovered something precious during their afternoon at Wimbledon. The pure joy of each other's company without the usual constraints of royal duty and public expectation. The tennis had been extraordinary, but what had happened between them was even more significant. As Djokovic lifted the championship trophy and addressed the crowd, Catherine leaned slightly against William's shoulder, and he responded by placing his hand gently on her back. The gesture was natural and unconscious, reflecting the comfort and intimacy they had shared throughout the afternoon. When she looked up at him with obvious contentment, his return smile was warm with affection and appreciation for the unexpected gift the day had given them. The photographers continued to capture their natural interaction, understanding that they were documenting something that would be remembered long after the tennis match had faded from memory. These were images of genuine love and connection, proof that even in the most scrutinized family on earth, authentic relationships could not only survive but flourish. As the ceremony concluded and they prepared to leave center court, William and Catherine moved together with a synchronicity that spoke of genuine partnership and enduring affection. Their afternoon at Wimbledon having provided the world with a powerful reminder of why their love story continued to capture hearts and inspire hope across the globe. The victory ceremony concluded with Djokovic's emotional speech thanking the crowd, his team, and his opponent for an unforgettable championship match. As the Serbian champion lifted the golden trophy high above his head, 15,000 people rose in appreciation for what they had witnessed. Not just exceptional tennis, but a display of sportsmanship and competitive excellence that embodied everything Wimbledon represented. In the royal box, William and Catherine remained standing close together, their afternoon having evolved into something neither had anticipated when they arrived for what they assumed would be another formal royal engagement. The natural intimacy they had rediscovered during the match continued to surround them like a protective bubble, creating a space where they could simply be themselves with each other despite the thousands of eyes and cameras focused in their direction. As the ceremony drew to a close and the crowd began to settle, Catherine turned to William with an expression that reflected both the contentment of the afternoon and awareness that their magical interlude was approaching its end. The demands of royal life would soon reassert themselves, requiring a return to the careful protocols and measured interactions that characterized their public appearances. But for these final minutes, they remained in their own private world within the very public arena of center court. William seemed to sense her thoughts, his own expression reflecting similar awareness that their extraordinary afternoon was drawing to a close. Without speaking, he reached for her hand, intertwining their fingers in a gesture that was becoming natural after hours of unconscious connection. The simple contact seemed to communicate everything they were both feeling: gratitude for the unexpected gift of genuine intimacy, appreciation for each other's company, and perhaps a touch of regret that such moments were so rare in their carefully orchestrated lives. As they prepared to leave the royal box, the usual protocols of royal departures began to reassert themselves. Members of their security detail appeared discreetly, ready to coordinate their exit from center court. Officials from the All England Club waited respectfully nearby, hoping for a few words about the exceptional tennis they had witnessed. The machinery of royal life was gearing up to reclaim them from their afternoon of spontaneous connection. But something had fundamentally changed between William and Catherine during their hours at Wimbledon, and neither seemed willing to let the formal requirements of their position immediately overwhelm what they had rediscovered. As they moved toward the exit, they remained close together, their hands still intertwined despite the return of official protocols. When Catherine needed to navigate the narrow steps leading from the royal box, William's hand moved naturally to her back, guiding and supporting her with the kind of unconscious care that comes from genuine partnership. The gesture didn't go unnoticed by those observing their departure. Royal correspondents who had covered countless official events immediately recognized that something had shifted in the couple's dynamic. The careful distance that typically characterized their public movements had been replaced by natural intimacy and mutual awareness that transcended their roles as working royals. Every interaction, however small, seemed infused with renewed appreciation for each other. As they made their way through the corridors beneath center court, past portraits of Wimbledon champions and displays celebrating the tournament's rich history, William and Catherine continued to move together with a synchronicity that reflected their afternoon of connection. When they paused to acknowledge tournament officials and thank them for the exceptional experience, their interaction remained natural and unguarded, as if the authenticity they had rediscovered during the match continued to influence everything they did. Catherine's genuine enthusiasm for the tennis they had witnessed was evident in every conversation during their departure. Her comments to tournament officials reflected deep appreciation for the exceptional quality of the final and understanding of what made the match so special. William's own observations demonstrated equal engagement, and their shared excitement about what they had experienced seemed to deepen their connection even further. The walk back to their car provided additional opportunities for natural interaction away from the intensity of center court. As they moved through areas where crowds had gathered hoping for a glimpse of the royal couple, Catherine and William acknowledged the well-wishers with a warmth and grace that had made them popular figures throughout their years of public service. But there was something different about their demeanor, a natural ease and obvious enjoyment of each other's company that elevated even these routine interactions. When a young tennis fan called out to Catherine about her obvious love for the sport, her response was animated and genuine, reflecting the passion that had been so evident throughout the afternoon. William watched her interaction with obvious pleasure, his expression warm with appreciation for her natural ability to connect with people of all ages. When she turned back to him after the brief exchange, the smile she gave him was radiant with happiness and shared understanding of the joy such moments could bring. Their journey back to their official car was punctuated by these small but significant interactions, each one reinforcing the natural partnership and genuine affection that had been so prominently displayed during the tennis match. When they finally reached their vehicle, the transition back to the more formal requirements of royal travel seemed almost reluctant, as if neither wanted to break the spell of intimacy and connection that had characterized their entire afternoon. As they settled into the car for the journey back to their official residence, the privacy of the vehicle allowed them to finally reflect on what had happened between them during their hours at Wimbledon. For the first time since leaving center court, they were truly alone together, free from the observation of cameras and crowds that had witnessed their afternoon of unexpected romance. Catherine was the first to acknowledge what they had both been thinking. Her comment about the extraordinary tennis they had witnessed led naturally to recognition of how special their shared experience had been. William's response reflected his own awareness that something significant had happened between them, something that transcended their usual careful public interactions and reminded them both of the connection that had brought them together more than 2 decades earlier. Their conversation in the privacy of the car revealed the depth of appreciation they both felt for the rare opportunity to simply enjoy each other's company without the usual constraints of royal duty. Catherine's reflections on the afternoon showed her recognition that moments of genuine intimacy were precious in their carefully orchestrated lives. William's responses demonstrated similar gratitude for the unexpected gift of authentic connection they had shared. As they discussed the remarkable tennis they had witnessed, their conversation naturally evolved to include appreciation for their own relationship and the journey they had traveled together. The afternoon at Wimbledon had provided a powerful reminder of why they had chosen each other, why their partnership had survived the unique challenges of royal life, and why their connection continued to deepen rather than diminish with time. The car journey also allowed them to process the significance of how publicly they had displayed their affection during the match. Both were experienced enough in royal protocol to understand that their natural intimacy during the afternoon would not have gone unnoticed by the media and public. But rather than feeling concern about potential criticism, they seemed to share satisfaction that the world had been given a glimpse of the authentic relationship that existed beneath their formal royal roles. Catherine's observation that their genuine connection might actually strengthen public appreciation for the monarchy led to a deeper conversation about the balance between personal authenticity and public duty. William's thoughts on the subject reflected his growing confidence as future king and his understanding that showing genuine human connection might actually enhance rather than diminish respect for the institution they represented. As their car approached its destination, both William and Catherine seemed reluctant for their private time together to end. The afternoon had given them something precious, hours of unguarded connection that reminded them both of the foundation their partnership was built on. The return to their regular schedules and official duties was inevitable, but the memory of their Wimbledon afternoon would remain as proof that love and authentic connection could flourish even under the most public circumstances. Their final moments in the car were marked by quiet appreciation for what they had shared and renewed commitment to making time for such connection in their busy lives. When William reached for Catherine's hand one final time before they arrived at their destination, the gesture carried the weight of everything they had rediscovered about each other during their extraordinary afternoon. The day that had begun as another royal engagement had evolved into something much more significant, a public declaration of enduring love and a private rediscovery of the connection that had sustained them through decades of challenge and change. As they prepared to return to their roles as working royals, both carried with them the renewed appreciation for their partnership that had been so beautifully displayed for the world to see. Their afternoon at Wimbledon had provided more than just entertainment and the fulfillment of royal duty. It had given them each other again in the most authentic way possible, creating memories that would sustain them through whatever challenges lay ahead and reminding the world that genuine love stories could indeed have happy chapters that continued to unfold even after decades together. The romance that had begun at university had been renewed on the grass courts of the All England Club, witnessed by the world and celebrated by all who believed that true love could conquer even the most extraordinary circumstances.